Hut, and a good day, a good Saturday to each and every one of you out there in my racehorse land. Nick Hines, the Sarge, reporting for duty. We've got a great show for you today, and it's a preview show, also one that's perhaps, for I know, we are going to actually take a look back at last week's TVG.com Grade 1 Haskell, in which Authentic was able to take his record to 4 for 5, earning his first Grade 1 victory for the My Racehorse team, along with partners, of course, in Starlight, Madaket, and our friends and associates at Spendthrift Farm. Without further ado, I would like to welcome in our friends and ladies and gentlemen. First, I present Joe Mishak, but ladies first, Hannah, our social media correspondent and the queen of all. And, of course, Joe Mishak, our racing's operation manager, and Joe Moran. Joe Moran sporting the stripes today. Good to see you, Joe, our California-based racing manager. And, of course, as I mentioned, we reflect back on last week, but of course we look ahead to a big day today out at the Seaside Oval at Del Mar as part of a 3-stakes card. My racehorse involved, 2 of which, including the graded stakes, the San Clemente with Lazy Daisy, the Vertical Threat, will begin the day, hopefully on a winning note, dispatched at 6-5 on the morning line as a horse that's coming off of a resounding effort. So Hannah, Joe, good morning, good day.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Well, you know, I'm sure that we're kind of still reeling, of course, from last week, but we'll touch on that with the TVG.com Haskell. I want to remind the folks out there as we report to you here on My Racehorse Live on this Saturday morning that, folks, it's never too late to get involved, of course, be part of a franchise, which is something unknown in the world of sport, to just be, hey, that blue collar or even that white collar guy or gal, whoever you may be. You have an opportunity to be part of a franchise. Check it out at myracehorse.com. All right, as we look forward to today, I just want to reflect on yesterday real quickly. I'm going to go to our California racing manager, Joe Moran. You talking about practice, a horse that was coming off of a smart maiden score in his career number 2 start. He was a 3-year-old stepping up versus older horses yesterday. Kind of a tough task, although we felt pretty confident going in. What took place and what was the post-race analysis from you and, of course, hearing from Peter Miller, our trainer?
Yeah, well, I mean, you always will say one of the biggest class tests is first-time winners. So coming out of that maiden win into the first condition, facing winners for the first time, and that was a very salty field. When you look at numbers-wise, he definitely had to improve, and we knew that. But we thought he was up for the challenge. He was a little, I would say, feisty in the gate prior to the race, set a hot pace with the horse outside of him. And unfortunately, just didn't have anything down the lane. It seemed after the race that Peter Miller said he came out okay for the most part. So we're going to see him, how he comes out over the next 2 days. Flavian Pratt made an interesting comment, recommending taking off the blinkers, maybe calm him down a little bit, get him to relax and not be as headstrong. So that will be an interesting thing. I'm sure trainer Peter Miller will mess around with moving forward.
All right. Well, it's good news that he came back in good order, reported to have scoped clean, because visually when you watch the race, and I know that I had that conversation with Joe Mishak, who took a nice brief respite up in the mountains, nice and refreshed now. Joe Mishak excited today with Vertical Threat going forward. But we kind of bounced the idea of perhaps maybe the horse bled or he displaced. But the good news is he scoped clean, came back sound. And our partner, Nick Casado, was able to connect with him as well. And he said it's way too early to give up on you talking about practice. And I agree. I think the gate episode may have, kind of induced a performance, and he may have bounced off of that big maiden score because he stepped up greatly in career start number 2 off of a troubled maiden debut. All right, Joe Mishak. I know the money was down earlier this week on Amandrea. And I know that I keyed her up in just about every exact you can imagine. And in fact, earlier that day, I had constructed a pick 5 with Joe Moran, but we'll not talk about how that pick 5 ended up. However, Amandrea, Joe, I know that you actually took a positive light and a positive spin from the effort. I know that she hasn't quite met our expectations, but at the end of the day, how did she come back, and what were your thoughts on the race itself?
Yeah, she came back great. She came back fine out of the race. What was really encouraging to me, obviously, it's always brutal to lose those photo finishes that are so close. But the positive for me is, she's been very headstrong probably for the past 6 months. And she sat back and she rated really well the other day. She jumped up 4 points on her buyer. So to me, I think, let's keep seeing that progression going forward. And I was definitely encouraged in spite of that head bob.
Yeah, I actually love the fact that she had that progressive buyer speed figure. And you mentioned the fact that she was able to kind of idle and rate back. In conversations that we've had with Steve Asmussen, he had mentioned the fact that, she seemed to be the type of horse that needed to have the lead. But maybe in the midst of her season, maybe she's finally getting a knack of relaxing and actually exhaling. So Karen Andrade, Joe Moran, Karen's giving you a big salute for the assist.
Yep. Well, hopefully we get lucky with vertical threat. She was able to get into vertical threat the other day through our transfer process that we have in place. So that was hopefully a good luck right before the race. So let's get lucky today.
All right, Hannah, we had a question regarding Power Up Painter. What was that question from a partner or fan?
Yeah, CJC, why was Power Up Painter scratched this week? He was supposed to run yesterday, so I know we have quite a few questions kind of wanting some clarification as to why he was scratched.
Joe Moran?
Sorry, I lost audio on Hannah. I just got it back.
Joe Mishak.
Yeah, Power Up Painters. So obviously everybody is familiar with. He ran last Sunday up at Saratoga. Just had a completely awful trip where he got in behind, almost clipped heels. This was a really, no chance sort of race. Linda entered Power Up Painter that day, not knowing how the field was going to shake out. He came back out of the race. As any trainer will tell you, they want to monitor the horse for a number of days after the race. All came out all well, and just took a look at the field and kind of where he was running 5 days prior, and just decided, in order to take on some of these, graded stakes horses, we need to give him, his full time in training and take these foes on when he's fully rested. It's a tough spot to get into at this stage of his career. Now we have full faith based on his start two starts back when he closed and won at Belmont on Belmont Stakes Day, that he progresses. He'll probably have some nice shots at stakes here in the near future. So it's definitely a patience game with Power Up Painter, but he's rewarded us when we've been patient with him.
Yeah, no doubt. A horse being a New York bred with those New York bred incentives, I think that there's plenty of upside there. Taking on older horses to that next level last week, obviously it would have been a very tough turnaround, I think. Although Linda Rice has had good success with that, and congrats to her on a winning week as well. All right, I think we have that photo from Amandrea, because as many of you recall last week, I'm sure many of you were holding your breath the last 50 yards of Authentic seeking his first Grade 1 victory. And TVG.com, Haskell is my racehorse partners. And I know that Hannah had announced last week as part of the Grand Slam social that we were actually looking for you, the fan, and videos and perhaps little snippets of your excitement. I know there was a gentleman that he looked as if he was either the bar owner or the bartender, but regardless, he stood with a lot of confidence throughout that race. But we hope to highlight these shows, and we did huddle up throughout over the course of the last couple of weeks that we want to make this a weekly thing. So feel free to share in those winning videos with My Racehorse. And, a $5 gift card is going to take you a long way. Wouldn't you say, Hannah?
Yeah, I would say. And then look at, you have a chance to buy a hat like this or the Authentic hats. There's tons of gear on myracehorseshop.com. So definitely please keep taking those videos and photos of yourself watching your horse race.
One thing's for sure, Hannah, nobody will look as good as you. And that My Racehorse hat. By the way, I've got an Authentic hat here, and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it for that, hopefully that Derby dance the first Saturday of September. Boy, I tell you, July is closing out. This is the final Saturday of July, so this is your opportunity, as we will provide more opportunities for you here at myracehorse.com. I'm certainly liking what I'm seeing in the stock department and what lies ahead. But as we talk about today's races, let's touch. And first, I want to go to Joe Mishak, because that's the first stakes on the day. And yes, we are involved. And yes, Vertical Threat, 1 for 2, Son of Tapiture, is dispatched at 6-5 as a partnership with Slam Dunk Racing. Joe, I know you've handicapped this race upside down. downside up, left to right? What are your thoughts?
I couldn't be any happier with how the field came up, how the pace scenario came up. I think there's going to be, at least 3 horses, and the horse to our outside for Doug adds blinkers today. So you could have the addition of 4 horses going to the lead, duking it out with us sitting back, making our runs, sort of similar to what he did in his maiden breaking score at Los Al. Obviously the Bob Baffert's horse in here is probably the most seasoned, coming off of that second place finish to a very impressive sprinter, which I know both of you know as Inclusion Illusion for Mark Latt last time out. And so he's got the seasoning. There's no doubt about that. We lack the seasoning, but obviously a very impressive maiden breaking score last out. I think the pace sets up well. I am definitely excited to get this race here right now.
All right, so we skipped ahead, obviously, as we were going to reflect quickly back on Authentic. But Joe Moran, I'd like to ask you about Lazy Daisy. Now a 10-horse field with the scratch of Mind Out. She is dispatched at 20-1. As we were all made aware of the fact that she encountered the thumps in that last unfortunate performance that she had in Kentucky. But the thumps, essentially, it's a spasmodic response due to an electrolyte imbalance, whereas the diaphragm will constrict against the heart, can completely throw them off kilter, and kind of the human version of having the hiccups. So you've seen her work out in the mornings. You've been a staple there, trackside. What are your thoughts and your conversation with Doug O'Neill?
Yeah, well, Doug is always very optimistic, which I love, and he's always on the positive side. But I think the biggest question is going to be how she takes to the turf. She had success at Del Mar early on, so there was never a worry that she wasn't going to train well over the Del Mar surface and acclimate well to Del Mar. And I think each work has gotten better. I think her work 2 back was really her best work, and where she showed a lot. So, I think the test is going to come back to see how she takes to the turf. It is definitely a tough competitive race. So she's going to have to show back up and improve, no doubt. But she's definitely capable, and she's a grade 2 winner, so we know she has the ability. And she tries hard. That's the one thing. I mean, if you take out that last race, she always does try. Even in the fantasy stakes, she split the field, but she was trying all the way around. It was a very tough comeback race to go a mile on the 16th. So you really just got to draw a line through that last race with the thumps and hope she'll rebound here today.
Well, the one thing that I can say is that horses that generally show that one turn of foot, when you get an opportunity to strut their stuff on the grass, I think she has a puncher's chance. As you well know, Joe well knows, Hannah well knows, these 3-year-old fillies in the midst of their 3-year-old year, it's kind of like when you get to that junior year in high school, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, boy, that was a major step. But the main thing is the mental psyche for her to get back on the beam. All right, well, let's reflect on last week. Obviously, there's a look at the odds from the Smiling Tiger at 6-5. We'll touch on that because I want to hear your last thoughts, Joe and Joe. But Hannah, I know that you were front row center last week in watching Authentic as we reflect on that performance from last week. And we're going to bring that up and, in fact, going to bring you the stretch run as he was seeking to get his first ever Grade 1 victory. I'm not sure if we have audio for this, but let's just take ourselves through the lane here. And quickly, Hannah, at this point in juncture, did you think that Authentic was going to go on to an easy score?
I did personally. I mean, I was so nervous before the race. I was just so excited to get it over with. But yeah, right here, I mean, I was jumping up and down, and then, it's like, Mike, look out, there's a horse behind you. But yeah, I mean, right at the wire though, I believed we had it. It just, from the angle maybe I was watching, I was like, I think we got it. So those few seconds waiting for that confirmation were a little stressful.
Well, and I tell you, when you talk about the money obviously on the table, and a big salute to B. Wayne Hughes for making it happen. And, of course, our boss, Mike Barron, Joe Mishak. Joe Moran, Joe's, obviously you've had an opportunity to kind of take it all in. It's been a week, although it seems like just a minute ago. But winning a Grade 1, and I'm going to go to you, Joe Mishak, and obviously this was the premise. Obviously, the first Saturday in September with the Run for the Roses, that chance of a lifetime and a lifetime of chance. How crucial was that Grade 1 for Authentic?
It's absolutely huge. So I knew obviously one of the first questions that was on our minds, and obviously we knew that would be on the shareholders' minds, is, okay, what does this mean for our stallion, value down the line? And essentially what it does is, being a son of Into Mischief, being a very good looker that he is, athletically conformed almost, to perfection. We talk to our partners at Spendthrift, and they say at this stage of the game, they estimate him to be in that $20,000 to $25,000 per live foal range. That's to start with. Obviously, we hope that he's got a lot of racing left in him and a lot of Grade 1 wins, and that means up we go. And that means more revenue coming back to us and the shareholders, and that's what we all want to see.
And obviously, at this stage of the game, being that we are that close to the Kentucky Derby, got to go to Joe Moran on this one. I know that you've had conversation with Bob Baffert being our SoCal correspondent, but are there any races in between, or is it just that one small step for Authentic, one giant leap to the Run for the Roses? Are we having any more preps, or is that it?
No, the plan is to go straight to the Derby as of now. And that gives him about 7 weeks from the race to the Derby. So he'll have plenty of time to prepare. And I know there was a lot of things discussions between Mike Smith and Bob of what they can improve on. And I thought one of the most fascinating things is when we had Bob on our live show a few weeks back when we first got Authentic, he talked about how what he thought was a major benefit to Authentic is when he used the earplugs with him and with the crowds, when we saw him kind of lug in down the stretch. And he was saying after the race, he was telling Mike Smith he's got to stay after him down the lane. And he was saying Mike was smooching at him. And he's like, I told you he can't hear you because he's got the earplugs in. So, an interesting thing, that, those earplugs came in and you got to stay after him now that those earplugs are in. So, because turning for home, like you kind of mentioned on earlier, it sure looked like he was going to be home clear. And he even kind of kicked home and maybe he idled a little bit, but I think there's still a lot of room for an improvement there.
Yeah, I must say, I was maybe just a tad disappointed in some of the broadcast I had seen. I want to give props to my friend and colleague, Simon Bray, because he kept it real. Obviously, we're 42 days, 5 hours away from that first Saturday in September. And with COVID-19 and obviously this year 2020 being off kilter, if you will, as you can see, he is locked in. We just cross our fingers and toes that he obviously will be smooth sailing into that first Saturday in September. But, I think the fact is I take an optimistic approach because so many have looked at it as saying, oh, yeah, he barely held on. How's he going to get 1.25 miles? But the reality is, if you reflect on that, and Joe, Hannah, I haven't mentioned that to you, but if you have a horse like Authentic, that people see the TVG.com Haskell as a race that he had an easy lead, and he virtually, quote unquote, stopped, which in hearing the post-race interviews with Mike Smith and speaking with Bob Baffert, he wasn't. Obviously, he was goofing off, trying to duck out down the backside. People might be tricked into believing that he can't get 1.25 miles. So therefore, that effort could have played into our favor. So, of course, I'm the eternal optimist, incurable optimist, if you will. But we certainly are excited. And Joe, Mishak, again, that Grade 1 status, and if you were to win the Kentucky Derby, I liken it to perhaps maybe doubling his stud value per cover if we're able to come through. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say you're in a pretty good range there for sure.
Thank you, sir. Kathy Wood, Greg Peterson, thank you, of course, for sending it in.
To give a little bit of, Nick, to give a little bit of perspective, and I know we did this in our expert view, just think back to old Kentucky Derby winners of the past and what that win did for their stallion value. And you take a horse like Nyquist, who really did peak kind of at that Kentucky Derby, and then he ran third in the Preakness and kind of just was never able to get back on that level where I think hopefully we're really ascending with a horse that's hasn't put it all up here yet. And I think that's a dangerous thing if he does. Watch out. And for Nyquist, he's at $40,000 per stud right now. So let's give you a little bit of perspective of what could happen.
All right. Well, again, Authentic, there's still opportunities out there, and I would advise the folks out there to take a hard look at it. As I said, the stock is rising with My Racehorse, and this is your opportunity to be part of a franchise. And remember, folks, this isn't about us. This is about you. This is about you, the fan, to be part of that experience. And, I likened it to going to a rock concert. I can recall paying a lot of money going to an Elton John or a Billy Joel concert, probably to the 4 points, $1,000 for a pair of tickets. That's a one-time concert. You can't take a video camera in. You can't tape the concert, but you have that memory locked in your memory bank. So for you, the fan, this is your opportunity. And I know we talk numbers. The numbers are there. That's what I love about My Racehorse. It's transparent, and you yourselves will have an opportunity to get a feel for this wonderful game, the Sport of Kings, and you too can be that king or queen. All right, speaking of the queen, let's go back to Hannah. Hannah, I know that we've had some authentic questions. I see one there at the bottom of the screen. Tell us what the fans are sending in.
So I'm actually going to go to one I saw a little bit earlier, which goes in line since Authentic is available now. It's from Caitlin Christofferson. She said, hello, when I go to the site and see indicate interest, what does this mean? And how long do I have to wait before the horse is ready for purchase? So this has to do with the horses that aren't fully released yet. Miss Jack?
Right. So when we do have indicate interest, it means they've been submitted to the SEC for qualification process. So generally that can take anywhere from a week to multiple weeks. You click the indicate interest button and you'll be notified once that qualification does, come through from the SEC, and then you'll be able to start purchasing shares within the appropriate window.
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Hannah, we got time for one more question.
Yeah. So Jeff Evans, any news on potential group seats for the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, so we've been in correspondence with our boots on the ground in Kentucky, and obviously, as everything's going on in 2020 with COVID-19, everything's kind of still in flux. Obviously, we've had a spike in numbers, especially in Kentucky, in recent weeks. So I know they'll be working pretty closely with the governor, and I believe that Churchill has not finalized kind of their, cap. Have you when it comes to attendance. So we'll certainly be working with Churchill on ticket accommodations. It's just kind of like the Haskell. We were kind of flying by the seat of our pants just because the track was too with the governor, and we really didn't know until, the week of the race. So unfortunately, we want to get it done as soon as possible for you guys. But once we do hear and there is more definitive news, you'll be the first to know.
I think we're all taking it to this point.
All right. Well, that's a great update. Obviously, trying to navigate through some rather tricky times, and our premise is predicated, of course, on the experience, but safety being first for our friends, fans, and partners as part of the My Racehorse team. As we report to you on this beautiful Saturday morning, July 25th, 2020, the final Saturday of the month, and as we kind of navigate ourselves back to today. And I wanted to say vertical threat, Joe Mishak, he's 6-5 on the morning line. Where do you expect him to be? And on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, what's your expectation of victory?
Oh, well, this is my favorite horse. So, I mean, since when we picked him out at the sale last year, and it's been a long road, obviously, with his little setback last year at San Luis Rey. But obviously, going back to last month at Los Al when he showed us what we thought he could be, I'm expecting a big performance from him today, really.
Well, again, it's a 5-horse field. He's ideally drawn, and Richard Baltus is quite confident. And again, I want to thank our partners at Slam Dunk Racing. It's a unified effort, and I love the union. I've been friends with Nick Costado himself for over 30 years, former jockey agent. Does an exceptional job, obviously, in managing and having an eye. But I think it's a great relationship that we've established there. Joe Moran, Lazy Daisy, obviously a big step up for her. It's a grade 2. It's a San Clemente coming off of a head scratcher, a disappointing effort in Kentucky. What's your expectation on that scale, 1 to 10? Does she have a puncher's chance?
I definitely think she has a puncher's chance. I still think it's a question mark based on that last performance of how she really responds. And like you said, being a filly, really where she comes back mentally and all things like that are going to play a major factor. Getting on the turf, we've always kind of talked about it from the beginning that pedigree wise, we thought she would take to it. So I think that's going to be a benefit. I've always been a fan of Giovanni Franco. I think he gets horses to relax well. So I like the addition of him today. Doug's been kind of using him a lot more recently. So, there are some tough horses in this race. So my expectations on the win side, I think are going to be, she's going to have to run big to win today, but I don't think it's out of reach.
Sometimes there's this saying is the best anticipation is the lack of anticipation, because most people, when they see 20-1, they're like, wow, what kind of a chance do we really have? But the reality is you got to trust in Doug. Doug was a Hall of Fame nominee. He's a 2-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer. I've seen him pop at odds, and in particular at in stakes events as well. All right, we've got a Wall of Fame tweet that I would like to bring up, but in the meantime, I want to talk about the current status of horses. And I'm going to go to Joe Mishak, and I know that this morning you had sent over some good news regarding one of our friendly fillies down there in Central Florida, but also, of course, deep cover in training with Todd Pletcher. What say you, my friend?
Well, I guess you brought the filly up first, so ladies first. We got to go with it. American Heiress, had a strong breeze this past weekend. King's Equine and our friends and partners at Spendthrift said it's time to get her to Todd, so she'll be on the next ban, which is probably going to be early part of next week, and she'll ship into Belmont Park. And, we're looking forward to probably an early fall, campaign if everything goes right along. This is exactly where we all, it's and everybody wants their early 2-year-old. I understand that. But when we saw this filly last September down at Spendthrift Farm, we penciled in late September, October of 2020. So she's fitting our schedule and our timeline right on point.
All right, that's great news. Great news about American Heiress, and it seems like she's starting to hit stride. I was fortunate to have visited her a couple of weeks back there in Ocala, watched her gallop, and a big thumbs up to our man Raul Reyes at King's Equine. Deep cover, what's the latest on deep cover?
Deep cover, so we had his first half-mile breeze earlier this week at Belmont Park, going along smooth. Sounds like he needs a little bit of gate work, which obviously isn't unusual for a 2-year-old as they start to get acclimated to the process and ramp up their game. Very easy half-mile work. Todd's very methodical of getting his horses to settle, then really get to rate and then go and finish up strongly. So I believe Todd said, a couple of weeks ago that, he's really impressed by the conditioning that, the WinStar folks did down in Kentucky when he was down there. And I think we're still on target towards the end of Saratoga to get him to the races.
That's some great news. Great news. And, of course, that's on the right coast and evolving its way up. And Todd Pletcher, of course, doing a wonderful job. Mo Mischief reported to have come back in good order. Joe Moran, I know Papa Mandela, Gary Mandela, you brush up with him just essentially every morning there. What's the latest there with the Mandela camp? And Laneway obviously scratched yesterday as a result of a grab quarter. And how are the others coming along?
Yeah, so everyone's coming along well. Tiz the Magician came out of his most recent work on Monday, I believe, in great order. We'll see him work back tomorrow or Monday. He is going to be pointing to an allowance race back on the dirt August 1st. And then Moonlight Doro, she had her third official gate work. Her first work was by a hand open gate. This was her second from a live open gate yesterday. And she worked 5/8 in company with 2 Jeff Mullins runners. The team has just been super happy with her. They just say she's so bright mentally. You can see her when she's even galloping in the morning. She's so professional. You wouldn't think she's a 2-year-old. She'll just be cruising along, flopping her ears back and forth, and she just seems like a very happy horse. So they're debating. They have August 2nd, maiden special rate, going 5 furlongs on the dirt, penciled in. But they are going to keep their options open. We've always said from the beginning we think she'll run longer. So Papa Mandela is going to kind of consider in the coming days, see how she comes out, and make a decision by the middle of the week.
All right, that's great news. And, of course, Bella Chica was entered on Monday. The race oversubscribed, meaning that there were an abundance of entries. She did not get in, and she will, I guess, from what I understand, Joe, she'll be re-entered for next Friday, correct?
Friday, correct. Yeah, the race came back. It was extra 4 or 5 on the overnight, so hopefully it comes back Friday. If not, it will likely come back over the weekend.
All right, well, great. All right, so Hannah, I just wanted to touch back to you in reference to the social aspect of things and remind the folks again what it's going to take to obviously get those videos in. And Kristen Parker, tell us about what I'm saying here. I have not seen this yet.
This is amazing. So Kristen Parker is an owner. She posted this. Look at all those win photos. So these are all horses that she is an owner of for My Racehorse, and I would say that's a wall of fame kind of post. It's pretty cool to see the success she's had with My Racehorse. Definitely has given her some thrills. So all these kind of things we love to see. So if anyone else has kind of a wall of fame like this, please tweet us, tag us, put it on Instagram. We want to see it all, and that kind of goes in line with the Show Us Your Thrills campaign. We want to see you rooting your horse home. So today for those 2 stake races, please set up a camera and video yourself. We want to see, and you have a chance to win $500 gift card to the My Racehorse shop and get a hat like this, the authentic gear, plenty more to see on there. So just if you follow this, you use the hashtag My Racehorse Wins, we want to see it.
$500 is a serious gift card. I mean, granted, the cost of T-shirts lately, they're not what they were back in 1982. But the reality is $500, you can buy quite a bit with that. Now, my question is, if you win that $500 gift card, can you apply that to buying into a horse, or do you know?
I think that is a question for Mishak. Oh, okay, or you.
Mishak, can you take that $500 and apply it?
I believe it's just towards the gift shop this time.
Okay. You're obviously going to have to earn it, but I think it's a wonderful thing that you have an opportunity, of course, to participate in this chance. It's a free chance. It's a free roll at a $500 and essentially getting all the apparel you'll need. And believe me, I've got one authentic hat, I've got one authentic shirt, and I believe I've earned it. So they just don't give this stuff away by chance. But all right, Hannah, I know we've got some moments and minutes here, I guess, in the show. And I wanted to say, are there any other fan questions and thoughts out there in My Racehorse land?
So I think we wanted to first show this as social media stuff that's been going on. This is Deep Cover getting a bath because who doesn't love kind videos? How cute is that? He's such a good looking horse too. I just love this video, so we thought we'd share it.
Yeah, no, this horse kind of, it's interesting because having been at the OBS sale in March with Joe and Joe, this horse, we kind of had a different vibe to him, and it was a positive one because he was a later foal. We partnered up with our friend Randy Goulat, who had essentially the whole family, including the sire of Mission Impossible. But boy, I haven't seen any videos or pictures of him since. But gentlemen, would you agree? Oh my, this horse has really developed and blossomed.
Yeah, no doubt. I almost just said, wow. Like, he obviously had a little bit of belly on him when we bought him. Obviously, that we thought that was a good sign because he worked out so well, carrying some extra weight on him, and he's definitely looking like he's been hitting the gym hard now.
I know, I'm impressed, and I know that obviously Todd Pletcher. I can tell you that from a communication standpoint, as a former trainer, you tend to try and pride yourself on communication and keeping people and partners up to speed. And I hope that on behalf of My Racehorse, that everyone out there is pleased with the communication they've received. We know that in times, maybe we are not perfect, but we strive to be perfect in delivering that communication. PA spent $133 in shirts for me and my kids. The $500 would help. Well, what do they need to do again, Hannah, to make that happen?
So let's see those thrills, PA. Post a video of yourself watching those horses today. Vertical Threat, Lazy Daisy. We want to see, $500 gift card. I might even post a video of myself with that hashtag at this point. I need some more. So, let's see those thrills. Hashtag My Racehorse Wins.
Yeah, and we also talked in-house, and this is something that for the folks out there, and there's one individual that I like to give a shout out to, and Matt Kimmel, who has multiple horses, and I always appreciate his positive light, and of course our friends over there at Triple Clowns as well that are in on Vertical Threat. But we want to feature you and the partners going forward. We're actually in the process of putting that show together. So if you have interest in that, if you obviously are in contact with Joe Mishak, Joe Moran, or Grand Slam Social, feel free to direct message them and send it in and say, hey, I'd like to be part of the show if at all possible. And the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. And I read a post a few days ago and I believe it was from Derek Lassiter. He's having My Racehorse ownership like watch parties with his family, which I think that is really what it's all about, to create that experience, to make that happen.
Yes.
All right. So as we wind down the show, wanted to get back to fees, I believe it was, in reference to fees, and I'm going to direct that to you, Hannah.
Yeah, so we have a question from Shona Lynn. What is the standard fee for a trainer? Same question for a jockey on race day. I believe, Ms. Shack, this would be a good question for you.
Actually, I'm going to defer to Joe Moran because he's our invoice expert.
Gotcha.
There you go. So yeah, a standard fee when a horse runs. A jockey, there's always going to be a jockey fee. So if you don't earn a check where a commission is paid to the trainer and jockey, the jockey's always going to get a standard fee. And then when a horse wins, runs second, runs third, they're going to get 10% to the trainer, 10% to the jockey, and that's standard fee around the country.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's always the big question, right? In reference to, what are the fees? But they do, again, trainers, they'll actually bill out a barn stake. Some will actually bill first through fifth. Some will bill first through third. Some will bill first, just for first. But I think a lot of it is subjective, depending upon the trainer. It is kind of in flux, because I think we had this conversation, Joe, in reference to trainers that may be at Palm Beach, for example, because at certain racetracks, there are actual stall rents that are due, unlike, say, for example, a Santa Anita or a Del Mar would be in that sense.
Yeah. Also a gate fee as well to use the gate at Palm Beach Downs or Palm Beach Meadows, I believe, as well.
I'm seeing a message in here from Andy Fendius. Am I saying that name right? I hope I am. Yeah. So is he saying that he saw a poker dealer at Caesars last Saturday, knew about my racehorse?
That's how I read it, but either way, that's pretty cool. I mean, Vegas, they know what's going on.
All right, I love it. Well, I'm from Vegas, so I hope to the heavens that I know what's going on. Pedro Pagan, I love my racehorse. Had a great time with Authentic. Well, hey, the party isn't over, my friend, and I see his hashtag "Stay Home." Stay home. It could save lives. We're hoping that at Del Mar in the coming weeks, I know that we've kind of received some word possibly that license owners will have that opportunity. But we know that at Saratoga, it's kind of a slow, gradual process. But as we had alluded to, the fact that safety being first and doing what is right, of course, for the partners. Okay, we had a shares question, Hannah.
Yeah, simple question, but I think we get this a lot. T.S. Wilson 30 on Twitter. How fast do shares sell out when a horse becomes available?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really does depend on everybody's preference out there. Generally, lately, it's been fairly quick, and it also depends on the amount of shares that are available. For Authentic, we've had 12,500 shares, so that's part of the reason why. There's still some shares there, and there's other offerings where we've had 500 or 1,000 shares available. Granted, at that offering, the ownership percentage is higher, usually at a 0.1% or 0.05 versus a 0.01 or a 0.001. But generally, shares go pretty quick.
That's what I would have.
All right. Well, I think we have another question, Hannah.
I think that's all I've seen. As far as if I'm missing any, please comment them again. We'll answer them after the show as well. If we ever missed your questions, we want you to know that they will be answered after the shows as well.
Yeah, I think it's great, and the fact the fans actually are sending in those questions. And Steve Latuda, the family and I are ready to go today. Let's go Vertical Threat. Look, this is a big moment for Vertical Threat. Being a 3-year-old just in his third career start. We talked about it, Joe's, both in reference to yesterday with you talking about practice. You've got a 3-year-old, although today Vertical Threat is taking on straight 3-year-olds. You had a 3-year-old yesterday who was stepping up from a maiden to an allowance, entry-level allowance, graduating in class. Today you've got a horse that's stepping up into stakes company. It's not an easy task, but if he's able to accomplish that task, then we could be on to bigger and better things. Of course, Lazy Daisy, let's hope that she gets herself back on track. Later on this meet is the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, so that would essentially be a step in that direction if she were able to accomplish that. So I think that's going to do it for today, Hannah. as always, you were number one. We appreciate the fans and their support. Don't forget to send in those videos in regards to your thrills and making that happen. Of course, you have an opportunity for a $500 gift card. Joe Moran, your hard work and diligence does not go unnoticed. Of course, Joe Mishak, keeping it straight, keeping it sharp. We appreciate you. And on behalf of everyone here at My Racehorse, we appreciate you, the fan, because without you, there is no us. So let's make it a winning weekend. Multiple stakes on the card at Del Mar today. Just to clarify post time, it's going to be 2:30 for Vertical Threat here on the left coast, for 5:30 Eastern for those out there on the East Coast, and the San Clemente at 6 p.m. Pacific for Lazy Daisy. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and until next time, we'll see you in the winner's circle. Take care, everybody.
Good luck, everyone.